One of the terms that Hamas is trying to get changed in this ceasefire framework, and we could talk more in detail about this, in a bit, but just it hasn't gotten much attention at all. I mean, most people are focused on the top line, bigger picture issues, wanting Trump to give clearer guarantees that he will force Israel to hold its fire beyond 60 days, beyond an initial truce, so that there can be negotiations for a permanent end to the war. The second one is the issue of aid, and that's the one that's the major focus right now of the Palestinian negotiators. They don't want the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to continue to murder Palestinians as they try to get meager rations, or to have the Israeli forces murder them for them. And then the third has to do with Israeli withdrawal positions. The Israelis, in the draft that Trump put forward, and said this is the last proposal or the final proposal, we're trying to restart discussions on what the maps would look like, where Israeli troops would redeploy or would withdraw to. And Hamas is saying, no, we want the maps that we spent months negotiating that led to the January agreement. So those are the three big things that everyone is focusing on right now. But they also said that they want the Rafah border to be reopened. Remember, this was the only gateway that Palestinians in Gaza had to a world beyond Israel's control. The rest of the Gaza Strip is entirely surrounded by Israel and its occupation military bases. And so what Hamas put into their revised draft was that they want that border to be reopened, and for injured people, sick people, and trade also to be able to have a free flow between Egypt and Gaza. Now, of course, Netanyahu very much doesn't want that, and he portrays it as a smuggling route for weapons. But the reality is that one of the main reasons why many Palestinians who have been injured in Israeli attacks have died is because Israel has decimated the health system in Gaza. And so to even just get evacuated, to get out of Gaza, is almost impossible for anyone in Gaza right now. So when we see what the current map looks like of Israeli forced displacement, it's, people have compared it to, a dystopic game show where Palestinian, more than 80% of Gaza now is either occupied by Israel or is under an Israeli exclusion zone, where Palestinians have told that they can no longer live. And so they've been corralling them by force, issuing, sometimes just minutes before strikes happen, these evacuation orders telling people that they have to move west. And so if you look at that map now, they're literally pushing people to the sea. And you have hundreds of thousands of people that have gathered in Al Mawasi, for instance, which is a huge section of the western Gaza Strip filled with sand dunes, and you have makeshift refugee camps set up at Mawasi. What the plan announced by Israel Katz, the Israeli defense minister, says is that they want to take an initial 600,000 Palestinians and cram them into this concentration camp that they want to expedite the construction of in Rafah itself. And one of the things I was told by sources close to the Palestinian negotiators is that at some point in the past 2 weeks, I think it was around 2 weeks ago, Egyptian mediators re-entered the scene. Mostly it had been Qatar since March, when Israel blew up the original ceasefire deal. And the Egyptians sat down with Hamas negotiators, and they were pushing on them, or testing the waters with them, the idea that Israel could keep its forces entrenched in what's called the Philadelphia corridor, which is the route that cuts off Rafah and the border from the rest of the Gaza Strip. And what Netanyahu and others have said in recent days is that they not only want to hold the Philadelphia corridor, but then they want to move a bit north and continue to occupy what the Israelis call the Morag access, or the Morag corridor. So that essentially would be just like a sliver of the southern Gaza Strip. And that is the exact location where Israel wants to build this concentration camp to force the Palestinians into. So initially, I was told that Hamas was saying, look, if we get other things in this deal, such as a strong guarantee from Trump that they won't resume the genocide, and withdrawal of all the other Israeli forces and unrestricted aid coming into Gaza, we'd be able to discuss a longer timeline for the withdrawal from Rafah. And remember, Egypt is the border country. Egypt has a complicated relationship with Hamas. So, Qatar's opinion on this matters very little compared to Egypt's, because for Egypt, it's also a bilateral issue with Israel. But the point I'm getting at is that not only have the Israelis said for many, many months that they won't leave the Philadelphia corridor, and this relates to your question about Netanyahu saying our security, Netanyahu has defined it in those terms, that allowing Palestinians access to the outside world is perceived as a threat. That's the way he's portraying it. But the final stage of this, which I think really needs to be re-emphasized over and over again, is that Netanyahu keeps saying that the agenda, which he calls Trump's plan, the agenda remains the forced removal, the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza. So it's not just that they want to cram them into a concentration camp. It's that they want to cram them into a concentration camp and then kill as many people as they can who are not in the concentration camp. But in the meantime, try to find a way to forcibly deport those Palestinians by claiming that it's voluntary migration, but to deport them elsewhere and say so long. So the war of annihilation continues. The agenda of genocide is explicitly stated, to the point where they're openly using Nazi phrases to describe the plan that they intend to implement. And they're saying that they intend to do the construction on this thing during the 60-day ceasefire. So, and one last thing, Ryan, on this, and we reported this a few days ago, in the Israeli media, there was a report by a well-connected political journalist citing sources from the political echelon, which our colleague at Israel says refers almost entirely and exclusively to leaks from Netanyahu, stating that Netanyahu was told that Trump would give him a secret side letter, regardless of what the terms are of any ceasefire agreement signed, that states that he can resume the war if Hamas refuses to demilitarize the Gaza Strip or to exile its leaders. And those aren't even issues that exist in the term sheet right now that was circulated by the United